A poor black child from a trailer park thought she could heal a federal judge. Judge Douglas Sterling, his frame rigid in the sleek wheelchair, stared down at 10-year-old Justice Morgan, her worn sneakers barely held together with duct tape. "Security, remove her." Justice didn't budge. Not an inch, not a flicker. "Your Honor," she said, voice steady, "you're in pain right now. Lower back, right side." "Started 15 minutes ago?" Sterling froze. The room went quiet, tense, expectant. She was exactly right. A tingle sparked in his right toe, impossible yet undeniably real. "Can stop that pain in 3 minutes," she continued. "And in 12 more, I can make you feel your legs again." The courtroom erupted into whispers and gasps. Sterling felt it, faint, but unmistakably a tingle running through muscles that hadn't obeyed him in years. Justice locked eyes with him, fearless. "Free my dad, and I'll heal you. Right here, right now. 60 seconds to decide." Behind her, Christopher Morgan sat handcuffed, stoic, but with fear in his eyes. 20 years for a crime he didn't commit. 3 cameras rolled. Sterling gripped the wheelchair, knuckles white. "You have 3 minutes," he muttered, almost to himself. 45 minutes later, he would rise, literally and metaphorically, in front of 200 stunned people. Let's back up. Dies. Justice Morgan lived in an 8-by-20-foot trailer in Oak Grove Mobile Park. 4th grade at Riverside Elementary. Her school clothes came from the church donation box. Her sneakers once belonged to a cousin 3 years older. The left sole flapped with every step, announcing her poverty with each shuffle. Her grandmother, Ruth, 72, hands like weathered leather, had spent 60 years practicing what people called bone setting. No medical degree, no license. Just 12 people in Oak Grove who could walk again because Ruth Morgan knew bodies like most people knew books? Justice had been learning since she was 6. How to place hands on a spine and feel which vertebrae sat crooked. How to find the knots in muscle tissue that pulled bones out of alignment. How to distinguish pain that required patience from pain that required a hospital. Her mother, Maya, had been a nurse at Mercy General Hospital and often said, "Justice would be a bridge between world's traditional knowledge and modern medicine, hands and science." Maya died when Justice was 8, stage 4 breast cancer. By the time it was found, it was too late. And even if detected early, treatment was beyond reach. Not on a nurse's salary. Not with a husband recently unemployed. That was 2 years ago. Judge Sterling, in stark contrast, lived in a 4,000-square-foot house on Riverside Hill, 18 years on the bench. Before the accident, he played tennis twice a week and hiked every Sunday morning. 3 years ago, a climbing rope failed. He plummeted 30 feet, fracturing his T12 and L1 vertebrae, paralyzed from the waist down. Tried everything. 2 surgeries, stem cell therapy in Mexico, physical therapy 5 days a week for 18 months, acupuncture, experimental drugs from Germany. Cost $340,000. Result: nothing. Now, running for appellate judge. Election in 6 months, he needed to look strong, decisive, untouchable. His approval rating, 52%. Not enough. He needed a showcase case, a story for the cameras, a narrative the public could rally behind. Christopher Morgan's case was perfect. The charge: involuntary manslaughter through medical negligence. Christopher, an X-ray technician at Mercy General, noticed a shadow on a patient's right lung, 2.3 centimeters. Told Dr. Stephen Phillips. Phillips dismissed it as artifact. 8 months later, the patient, George Hamilton, died. The family sued. Hospital settled for $1.8 million. The district attorney pointed fingers. Christopher's salary, $48,000. Dr. Phillips, $320,000. Guess who became the scapegoat? His public defender urged a deal. 5 years, maybe 3 with good behavior. Christopher refused. He hadn't erred. He reported what he saw. Nobody listened. So trial. Guilty verdict. Today, Judge Sterling was to sentence him. Recommendation, 20 years. Justice knew what that meant. She would be 30 before seeing her father again. Middle school, high school, college, maybe children all without him. 2 worlds, a cramped trailer, and a sprawling mansion. A girl who learned medicine from her grandmother's hands versus a judge who trusted only credentials. Day worlds collided. Justice had 32 minutes to do what no doctor had done in 3 years. And the man holding her father's life didn't believe she could. Camera 1, KRSV News, 35,000 YouTube subscribers live. Camera 2, Court TV Local. Camera 3, Rachel Stone, legal blogger, 18,000 Twitter followers, filming on her phone. Sarah Williams from Channel 8, live streamed on Facebook. Total audience, 2,100 and climbing. Courtroom, 240% rooting for Christopher, thinking a setup. 60% demanding justice for George Hamilton. Patricia Davis, the bailiff, monitored her phone. UMass Dispatch. Stuck in traffic 14 minutes out, maybe 12. Alan Brooks, Christopher's public defender, hands shaking, stood helpless. No law book had ever covered this. A defendant's daughter offering to heal the judge in exchange for her father's freedom. It sounded like a fairy tale or a con. Justice's hands were shaking too. She could feel 200 pairs of eyes boring into her back, 3 cameras pointed at her face, 1 microphone seemingly picking up every thought running through her mind. And then, there were the echoes of her grandmother's voice. "Justice, baby, you got special hands. Run 3 degrees hotter than mine. You feel things I can't feel. Don't be afraid of that." And beneath that, her mother's voice, soft but firm. "You're going to be the bridge, sweetheart, between what we know and what they know. Don't let anyone tell you one is better than the other." But right now, Justice was scared. Grandma Ruth had taught her how to help people with back pain, broken bones that refused to heal properly, joints locked from old injuries, but she had never treated a spinal cord injury, never touched someone paralyzed for 3 long years. What if she failed? Then everyone in this room would watch her father get sentenced to 20 years, and it would be her fault for giving him hope. Judge Sterling was thinking too. His heart rate was 115, thudding in his ears like a warning drum. Muscle spasms had started 15 minutes ago, pain shooting from his lower back into his ribs. Episodes like this weren't new. Usually he could breathe through them, medicate, wait it out, but not today. Not in front of 200 people and 3 cameras. If he left, the case would go to Judge Martha Taylor, soft, lenient. Christopher Morgan might get 10 years, maybe 8. Sterling couldn't let that happen. This case was his ticket to appellate court. He needed to look strong, decisive, untouchable when he handed down 20 years. But the pain, God, the pain. A woman in the gallery shouted, "Don't let that child touch you, Your Honor, it's voodoo!" Another voice countered, "Give her a chance." "What do you have to lose?" Patricia Davis whispered to Sterling. "Sir Ems is 12 minutes out. If you need help now, I can clear the courtroom." Sterling looked at Justice. Really 10 years old? White t-shirt washed so many times it was almost translucent, jeans patched on the knees, duct-taped sneakers. She looked terrified, but she hadn't run. She stood there, offering him something nobody else could. Relief, hope, maybe healing. He thought about the campaign, about the cameras. If he refused, headlines would read, "Judge too proud to accept help from a child." If he accepted and she failed, they'd say, "Judge falls for faith healing scam." But if she succeeded... Sterling closed his eyes, inhaled 4 counts, exhaled 6. The pain now, a 9 out of 10. He opened his eyes. "You have 3 minutes. If nothing changes, security will escort you out." In the end, it wasn't compassion that made him say yes, it was pride. And 12 minutes until EMS arrived. Justice took off her shoes. Her grandmother always said, "Bare feet connect you to the earth." The earth helps you channel energy, helps you feel where the blocks are, helps you know when you're pushing too hard or not hard enough. The courtroom floor was cold tile. Justice ascended the 3 steps to the judge's bench. Sterling had lowered the wheelchair to its lowest position. She was almost eye level now. "May I touch your back, Your Honor?" He nodded. Her hands first rested lightly on his shoulders, feeling the warmth of his skin through the robe, sensing the tension in muscles, counting his breaths. Then she moved down, one hand on each side of his spine, starting at the neck T1, T2, T3 fingertips, reading vertebrae like Braille. At T12 she stopped. "This one," she said, "it's rotated 4 degrees to the left." Sterling's eyes widened. "The calcification is pulling your right hip down. Is your right leg 1.2 centimeters shorter? That's why you always lean left in your chair?" Patricia Davis pulled out an infrared thermometer, skeptical but curious. She pointed it at Justice's hand. 99.2 degrees Fahrenheit. Warmer than normal. Justice kept her hands on Sterling's back. "Your Honor, there's a nerve trapped between T12 and L1. That's causing your pain. Surrounding muscle is in spasm, protecting the nerve. I need to release it first. It's going to hurt for 20 seconds. Then you'll feel better." "Do it," Sterling said through gritted teeth. Justice found the spot, right side of his spine, about 2 inches from center. 4 pounds of pressure, enough to sink into the muscle, not enough to damage anything. She pressed, thumbs moving in small circles, cross-fiber friction. 60 strokes. Sterling gasped. "I know. Keep breathing. In through your nose, 4 counts, out through your mouth, 6 counts. He matched her rhythm. Slowly, excruciatingly slowly, the muscles began to release. The courtroom fell silent. 200 people watched a 10-year-old accomplish what 8 doctors couldn't in 3 years. After 3 minutes and 20 seconds, Justice stepped back. Sterling's face had changed, the gray gone, breathing easier, sweat drying, pain better. "Down to maybe a 6, he said. "I know," Justice said, "but you're not healed yet, Your Honor. The nerve is still compressed. Scar tissue from your surgeries is pulling on it. I need 5 more minutes." And that's when Sterling felt it, a tingle. Not pain, not numbness. Tingle in his right big toe, a sensation he hadn't felt in 3 years. Like pins and needles when your foot falls asleep, except his foot hadn't been asleep. His foot had been dead, or so every doctor had told him. But now something was happening. Some signal was traveling from his brain, down his spinal cord. through pathways that no one, including himself, had believed could carry sensation anymore. Just as Justice's hands had opened fully to his toe, he didn't say anything, didn't want to jinx it, didn't want to hope too much. But his breath caught, just slightly, and Justice heard it. "You felt something, didn't you?" she asked. "My toe," he whispered. "My right big toe. It's tingling." Justice smiled. Not a broad grin. Just a small, knowing smile. The kind that said, "I told you so," without a word. "It's good, Your Honor. That means the nerve is waking up. But it's been asleep for 3 years. We need to be gentle with it. It's like helping someone wake from a very long sleep. Can I keep going?" Sterling nodded, throat too tight to speak. Behind him, Alan Brooks was frozen, hand still gripping his pen. Pen wasn't moving. He was just staring. In the gallery, 40 people had risen for a better view. Camera 1 zoomed in on Justice's hands. Rachel Stone typed frantically into her phone. "Holy, his toe just moved. I saw it, but she was wrong. Not yet." His toe hadn't moved. Justice wasn't done. She had released the acute spasm, given him relief, but that wasn't healing. That was pain management. Real healing meant addressing the root cause. Scar tissue from 2 surgeries, adhesions around his spinal cord, nerve compression that had convinced every doctor he'd never walk again. She needed 12 more minutes. She needed him to trust her completely. And she needed everyone to be still, so she could work. "Your Honor," Justice said, "I need you to trust me for what comes next." Sterling felt something he hadn't felt in 3 years, not hope yet. Just a tingle in his right big toe. "Where did you learn this?" Sterling asked. Voice quieter now, less judge. More man discovering that the impossible might be possible. Justice wiped her hands on her jeans. "My grandma, Ruth Morgan. She learned from her mother, and her mother learned from her mother. For generations, Your Honor, we've been healing people in Oak Grove for 60 years. For generations." Sterling's voice dropped, incredulous. "But you're only 10. My mom taught me too, before she died." Her voice grew softer. Her name was Maya Morgan. She was a nurse. At Mercy General Hospital. Same hospital where my dad works. Sterling went still. Maya Morgan. The name landed in his memory like a stone dropping into water, ripples spreading, a face forming through fog of pain, medication, and despair. A young nurse with kind eyes, hair in long braids. 3 years ago, right after his first surgery, she had been assigned to his recovery room, had sat beside him, telling him about her mother's work in the community, about traditional healing practices passed down through generations. She'd offered her mother's help for the nerve pain. It said no. Polite, firm, did not believe. Trusted science, doctors, clinical trials, peer-reviewed studies. Maya had smiled. "That's okay, Your Honor. I understand, but if you change your mind, we're here." 2 weeks later, she rotated to a different unit. He never saw her again. "Your mother," Sterling said slowly, "she took care of me after my first surgery." Justice nodded. She wrote about you in her journal, about a lot of her patients, especially the ones she thought she could help if they'd let her try. "What did she write about me?" "She said you had a strong will," Justice said, "but that your body was fighting itself. She said the scar tissue was the enemy, not the spine. She wanted to help you." Sterling closed his eyes, could see Maya's face. Clearly the way she looked at him with compassion, but no pity. The way she believed in something he couldn't accept. "Where is she now?" he asked, voice tight. "Your mother. She died 2 years ago. Breast cancer. You couldn't afford treatment." The words hit Sterling like a fist. This woman who had wanted to help him, who had offered her family's knowledge freely, had died because she couldn't afford the medical system he trusted above all else. And now her daughter stood before him, 10 years old, offering to finish what her mother had started. "All right," Sterling said. "Steady now, resolute. What do you need?" "I need you to trust me completely for the next 12 minutes, Justice said. "And I need everyone to be quiet." Patricia Davis made an announcement. "Please, everyone, silence in the courtroom." She checked her phone. EMS is 6 minutes out. We have 21 minutes until the sentencing deadline. Justice asked for 3 things. A warm towel from the break room, a bottle of water for the judge, and someone to help hold his legs steady while she worked. Alan Brooks stepped forward. "I'll help." Sterling lowered his wheelchair all the way down and leaned to his right side. Justice placed the warm towel across his lower back and handed him the water bottle. "Drink half of it. Your muscles need to be hydrated for this to work." Then she began phase 2. Her grandmother had taught her 3 levels of technique. Level 1 was what she'd just done. Acute pain relief, surface work. Immediate, yes, but it didn't fix the underlying problem. Level 2 was deeper. It went after the adhesions. The scar tissue formed after surgery and trauma, wrapping around nerves and blood vessels like spider webs, pulling everything out of alignment, choking off signals between brain and body. "This is going to hurt, Your Honor. I'm going to work on the scar tissue now." 3 sections, each about 6 inches long, right where they cut you open for surgery. "I need to break up the adhesions. It's going to feel like deep pressure, maybe 5 out of 10 on pain, but it has good pain. It means the tissue is releasing. Sterling nodded. Do what you need to do. Justice positioned her fingers along the first section. She could feel it under her hands, thick, ropey, pulling skin and muscle into unnatural patterns. Using cross-fiber friction, she pressed her fingers perpendicular to the scar fibers, moving in short strokes. 60 strokes per section, 4 to 5 pounds of pressure. Sterling's jaw clenched. That's intense. I know. Keep breathing. Count with me. In 4-4 out for 6. After 5 minutes, the first 2 sections had softened. Justice felt the difference. The tissue had more give, more elasticity, releasing its grip on underlying structures. Now came the nerve work. Mr. Brooks, I need you to hold Judge Sterling's right leg. I'm going to lift it and straighten it. We're going to do something called nerve flossing. It helps the sciatic nerve remember how to glide through the tissue. 20 repetitions, slow. 3 seconds up, 3 seconds down. Alan Brooks held Sterling's ankle. Justice lifted the leg straight, then bent it at the knee to 90 degrees. Straight, bent. Straight, bent. Very slowly. Like a skilled physical therapist, with her hands precisely positioned along the nerve pathway. At repetition 12, Sterling shouted, I felt that in my calf electric, like lightning. The courtroom gasped. 40 people rose for a better view. Camera 1 zoomed in on Sterling's leg. Rachel Stone typed frantically, her thumbs blurred. His calf just twitched. I saw it. Holy. But Justice stayed focused. 8 more repetitions, breathing with Sterling, keeping the motion controlled and precise. When she finished, she placed one hand on his sacrum, the other on his T10 vertebra. This was the final step. Spinal traction, gentle decompression, creating space between vertebrae compressed for 3 years. She pulled not hard, maybe 8 to 10 pounds, just enough to lengthen his spine a few millimeters. She held it for 45 seconds. Sterling heard 3 small pops, like knuckles cracking but deep inside his back.
Ow!
The sound of vertebrae realigning, finding proper spacing. Then Justice said the words that changed everything. Your Honor, I need you to try something. Don't force it, don't push. Just think about moving your right foot. Imagine the signal going from your brain down your spine into your leg. Imagine your toe moving. Just think it. Sterling closed his eyes, concentrated. 10 seconds, 15, 20. And then his right big toe moved. 2 millimeters, maybe less. Just a tiny shift, the smallest wiggle, but it moved. Alan Brooks felt it immediately, holding Sterling's ankle. Oh my God, it moved. His toe moved. His toe. Sterling opened his eyes, looked down, tried again, thought about it, and it moved a little more, maybe 3 millimeters. Tears ran down his face, silently dripping onto his robe. After 3 years of being told he'd never move his legs, his toe had just moved. 200 people stood. The gallery erupted, some crying, some praying, some staring in disbelief. Rachel Stone's tweet went out to 18,000 followers. Holy shy. Judge Sterling's toe just moved. I watched it happen. Ow. Sarah Williams' Facebook livestream now had 6,800 viewers, 340 comments per minute. The video spread across the state in real time. But Justice wasn't done. She looked at Sterling's face, saw the tears, the hope, the fear, the disbelief, and said something her mother used to say. Your Honor, it's not impossible. It's just forgotten. Your body remembers how to move. We just had to remind it. Sterling couldn't speak. Throat too tight, he could only nod. Then the courtroom doors opened. 2 paramedics walked in with a stretcher, called for a medical emergency. Sterling looked at them, then Justice, then back at the paramedics. Stop, he said. They don't need you. The lead paramedic looked confused. Sir, we gotta call you. We're in acute distress. The emergency is over, Sterling said, voice stronger now. This child just did what your entire profession couldn't do for 3 years. I'm not going anywhere. We have a sentencing to finish. The paramedics exchanged looks, glanced at Patricia Davis. She shrugged. Judge's call. They left. The doors closed behind them. Sterling looked at Justice, then the courtroom. Then at his right foot, the foot that had moved. The toe that had just wiggled in said 5 words that changed everything. I need to see the evidence, bailiff. Sterling said, voice carrying newfound authority. Bring me the case files, all of them. Rebecca Walsh stood up so fast, her chair scraped against the floor. Your Honor, the trial is over. The jury has already deliberated. You're here to sentence, not to retry the case. I'm here to ensure justice. Ms. Walsh, bring me the extra evidence. Patricia Davis retrieved 3 folders from the court clerk. Case file number 2024, CR 3891. 14 X-ray images, 230 pages of testimony transcripts. She carried them to Sterling's wheelchair and placed them on the portable desk attachment. 16 minutes remained until the sentencing deadline. Sterling pulled up the X-ray images on the courtroom's large display screen, the same screen used during the trial to present evidence to the jury. Now everyone in the gallery could see them. George Hamilton's chest x-ray taken 9 months before his death. Justice stepped closer. She had watched her mother read x-rays hundreds of times. Maya used to bring them home, study them at the kitchen table, teaching Justice what to look for. Your Honor, I'm not a doctor, but my mom taught me to read x-rays. She said it's like reading bones, like reading a story in shadows. She pointed to a spot on the right lung, upper lobe. That shadow there, it's 2.3 centimeters. That's not a normal rib shadow. Ribs are linear, casting long shadows. That shadow is round, contained, soft tissue. Sterling compared it to Dr. Stephen Phillips' radiologist report. Rib fracture visible on right antilateral aspect, ribs 4 to 6. No complications. Follow-up in 6 weeks if pain persists. No mention of any mass. Sterling pulled up Christopher Morgan's trial testimony and read aloud, I saw something unusual in the lung field. I told Dr. Phillips. He said it was an artifact from the rib fracture. He told me not to note it in my report. Said it would confuse the attending physician. Sterling scanned the courtroom. Who was the attending physician? Patricia Davis checked the records. Dr. Ellen Bradford. She never saw Christopher's concern because Dr. Phillips told him not to document it. Rebecca Walsh's face went pale. Your Honor, this is highly irregular. You cannot review evidence during sentencing. Ms. Walsh, Sterling said, voice calm but cutting, a man's daughter just gave me back my toe. I think irregular is exactly what we need today. He gestured toward the victim's family. It deserved closure. Mr. Morgan's negligence or Dr. Phillips's negligence? Sterling leaned forward. Tell me, Ms. Walsh. Why would a radiologist tell a technician not to document something unusual? I don't know, she stammered. Because if it's not documented, there's no paper trail. It's no paper trail. No liability. Justice's voice, small but clear, cut through. Why would Dr. Phillips do that? Sterling connected the dots, the ones everyone had seen but ignored. George Hamilton died 8 months after that x-ray. The family sued for $2.3 million. Mercy General settled for $1.8 million. Insurance covered most of it, but lawsuits raised premiums, damaged reputations, and scared patients. When the family pushed for criminal charges, the hospital needed someone to blame. A radiologist making $320,000 a year, too valuable to punish. It's an x-ray technician making $48,000 a year expendable. Sterling's gaze locked on Rebecca Walsh. Ms. Walsh, who contributed to your campaign last year, her face went from pale to white. That's irrelevant to this case, she said weakly. Mercy General donated $25,000 to your re-election campaign. Public record, California Secretary of State website. Anyone can look it up. The courtroom erupted. 200 people talking at once. Camera 3 zoomed in on Walsh's face. Live stream hit 11,000 viewers. Thomas Reed, attorney for Hamilton's family, stood. Your Honor, we request a recess. Sterling slammed the gavel 3 times.
This court is not recessing, Mr. Reed. Sit down.
He looked at Justice. Your father didn't make a mistake. Justice nodded. She had known for 3 years. Known her father was innocent. Known no one would believe her until now. Sterling hit the gavel 3 times again. Order, order. The courtroom fell silent. I'm calling a 30-day continuance to review the evidence in this case. Rebecca Walsh shot up. Your Honor, you cannot. I just did, Sterling said, voice like steel. Christopher Morgan will remain free on bail pending an evidentiary review. This court is adjourned for 30 days. Unprecedented. 10-year-old healing a paralyzed judge counselor? The courtroom and the world watching online was witnessing history. Sterling looked at the bailiff. Mr. Morgan approached the bench. Christopher Morgan rose from the defendant's table. He was 38 but looked 50, gaunt. 3 months of pre-sentencing detention had shaved 20 pounds from him. His beard was long. His orange prison jumpsuit hung loosely. He walked slowly, hands cuffed, still in disbelief. Your Honor, Bailiff Patricia Davis hesitated. Sir, protocol requires. Sterling cut her off. Remove the restraints. The cuffs fell away. Christopher stared at his wrists, at the red marks, at his free hands for the first time in 3 months. Mr. Morgan, Sterling said, voice softening, you tried to do the right thing. You tried to save a man's life by reporting what you saw. Nobody listened. And I didn't listen to your daughter. I should have. I'm sorry. Christopher's voice broke, Your Honor. Justice ran. She sprinted up the 3 steps to the bench, crashed into her father's arms. He held her tight. They cried together, loud, ugly, shoulder-shaking sobs, the kind that come when something thought lost forever returns. 120 people in the gallery clapped. The other 80 were stunned, trying to process the miracle they had just witnessed. Sterling wasn't done. I'm also ordering an independent investigation into Mercy General's radiology department. Special focus. All cases reviewed by Dr. Stephen Phillips in the last 5 years. And I request that the State Medical Board review Dr. Phillips's license. Patricia Davis recorded every word in the official court record. Walsh sank into her seat, hands shaking, political career imploding in real time. Sterling turned to Justice. She was still holding her father, face buried in his chest, listening. "Miss Morgan, what you did today. 8 doctors couldn't do that in 3 years. I don't know what to call what you do. It's not Western medicine, not Eastern. It's just human medicine. Seeing people instead of problems. Listening instead of dismissing." Justice looked up, face wet with tears. "I'm writing a letter to Riverside Community College. Full scholarship waiting for you at 18. Full tuition. $5,000 per year living expenses. Medicine, nursing, physical therapy, whatever you choose. It's yours." Justice didn't fully understand. She was 10. 18 felt like a lifetime away. Out. But she understood the door being opened. The door locked her entire life. "And one more thing," Sterling said. "I'm writing another letter to the state legislature recommending a pilot program to study traditional healing practices in underserved communities. $2.5 million in funding. People like your grandmother, like your mother, whose knowledge we've ignored, need to be heard. We're changing that. And now, one more thing." The courtroom was completely silent. Everyone thought the big moment had passed. Justice had healed the judge. Christopher was free. What else could there be? Sterling placed both hands on the armrests of his wheelchair. Justice understood immediately. She stepped close, whispering so only he could hear. "You can do it. Your body remembers." Sterling took a breath, in 4 or 4 counts, out for 6, the breathing technique Justice had taught him. He pushed down on the armrests. His arms shook, his shoulders tensed. For 3 years, his upper body had been compensating for a paralyzed lower body. His arms were strong, but standing required more than arm strength. It required legs muscles that hadn't fired in 3 years, neural pathways that had been dark. But Justice had opened something, some signal, some connection. His right leg tensed first, the quadriceps contracted, a knee straightened. Then his left leg followed, and Judge Douglas Sterling stood up. He stood for 8 seconds. His knees shook, legs trembling like a newborn deer. His left hand gripped the armrest for balance, but he was upright on his own 2 feet. 200 people rose, not to see better, but to honor what they were witnessing. Standing ovation for a man who had not stood in 3 years. Camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, every angle captured the miracle. Rachel Stone's fingers flew across her phone. "I just watched a miracle." Sterling stood, 8 seconds. Counted. Riverside Courtroom. H. Justice Morgan. The Facebook livestream hit 18,500 viewers. Shares were climbing at 920 per minute. By evening, 4 million views. By the next morning, 8.6 million on TikTok. But in that moment, Justice wasn't thinking about social media. She was watching Judge Sterling, shaking, fighting to stay upright, proving to himself and everyone else that impossible things could happen. After 8 seconds, Sterling sat back down. His legs gave out, but he was smiling. Actually smiling. A real smile. Not a judge smile, a human smile. A man in the back of the gallery shouted, "Thank you, little girl. Thank you." Justice turned. 200 faces, some crying, some smiling, some still processing. She realized this wasn't just about her father or Judge Sterling. This was about everyone who had ever been told they couldn't, been dismissed, called too small, too young, too poor, too uneducated. Sterling's voice was soft but steady. 3 years ago, your mother tried to help me. I said, no, I didn't believe in that kind of medicine. She smiled and said, "That's okay, Your Honor, one day you will." She was right. "Shh, I just wish you were here to see this." Justice whispered, barely audible. "She is, Your Honor. She's always been here." It took 3 years for Sterling to stand. 3 hours for Justice to change his mind. 3 seconds for 200 people to believe in something bigger than themselves. 6 weeks later, all charges against Christopher Morgan were dropped. The independent investigation revealed Dr. Stephen Phillips had misread 6 other x-rays in the past 2 years. 3 patients received delayed diagnoses. 1 died. The state medical board suspended Phillips' license for 2 years. He faced 3 civil lawsuits, 500 hours of mandatory retraining. His career was effectively over. Mercy General issued a formal apology, offering $180,000 to Christopher. He took $50,000 to cover legal fees and bills. The rest went to Oak Grove Community Health Initiative. He accepted a new job at Regional Medical Center, lead X-ray technician, $65,000 per year, with a supervisor who actually listened when he flagged something unusual. Rebecca Walsh lost her election 58% to 42%. Headlines destroyed her credibility. She quietly resigned from the prosecutor's office, moving to private practice. Judge Sterling continued physical therapy with Justice and Ruth Morgan. 3 sessions per week, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday mornings at the courthouse before proceedings. After 6 weeks, he could stand for 3 minutes without support and walk 12 steps with a walker. His doctor, Dr. Patricia Wilson, admitted, "I can't explain why this works, but it works. Keep doing it," Sterling wrote to the state legislature. Assembly Bill 1423, a pilot program with $2.50 million to study traditional healing practices in low-income communities, passed in March. He won his appellate court election with 64% of the vote. Justice Morgan became a local hero. The video of her healing the judge went viral. 4.2 million views on YouTube, 8.6 million on TikTok. National news picked up the story. Invitations arrived from Good Morning Sacramento and Ellen. Ruth said, "My grandbaby doesn't need to be on TV. She needs to learn, grow, live normal." But normal wasn't quite possible anymore. Riverside Community College sent a scholarship letter, full tuition plus $5,000 a year, stipend waiting at 18. UC Davis Medical School invited her to early admission pathway, honoring traditional healing alongside modern medical training. Ruth Morgan was offered a job at Riverside Community Health Center as a part-time community health consultant. $25 hour teaching bone-setting techniques passed down through 4 generations. She accepted on one condition: I teach what I know. Don't twist it. Listen. Really listen. These techniques work because someone took time to understand the body, to respect it, to learn what it needs, not force it to be something it isn't. 15 nurses and 6 doctors trained in the first year. By year 2, the program expanded to 3 additional community health centers across California. Mercy General Hospital's CEO Raymond Foster resigned. The board implemented a new double review system for x-rays, a 24-hour patient advocacy hotline, donated $100,000 to Oak Grove Community Health Initiative. Wasn't enough to undo the damage, but it was a start. 6 weeks after the courtroom miracle, Sterling invited Justice and her family to his home in Riverside Hill. The house was exactly as Justice had imagined: 4,200 square feet, high ceilings, large windows, a garden with rose bushes and a fountain. Sterling met them at the door, walking 12 steps from entrance to living room, cane in hand. His gait uneven, left leg still weaker, but walking. Christopher shook his hand. Ruth hugged him. Justice smiled. They sat in the living room together, whole and changed forever. Sterling brought out tea in a package wrapped in brown paper. "This is for you," he said to Justice. She unwrapped it carefully. Inside was a journal, leather-bound, worn at the edges, pages yellowed with time. Her mother's journal. "I found it in the Mercy General Archives," Sterling said. "They were going to throw it away. I asked them to send it to me instead." Justice opened it. 230 pages of her mother's handwriting, notes about patients. Techniques she'd learned from Ruth, observations about how traditional knowledge and modern medicine could work together instead of fighting each other. The last entry was dated 3 weeks before Maya died. "Justice, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone. Don't be sad. You have the gift. Use it. Not for fame, not for money. Use it because people hurt and you can help. That's enough. That's always enough. I love you, Mom." Justice's hands shook as she held the journal. Sterling's voice was gentle. "I spent $340,000 trying to walk again. You did it for free. Why? Because my dad didn't belong in jail, and you didn't belong in that chair. And now you both get to start over." 6 weeks later, Sterling walked 12 steps without help. Christopher walked out of debt. Justice walked into a future her mother had dreamed of. Sometimes healing isn't just about bodies, it's about belief. You just heard the story of a 10-year-old girl who changed 2 lives in 45 minutes. But really, it's about something bigger. The knowledge we've forgotten. The hands we've ignored. The voices we've silenced because they didn't come with a degree or a license or institutional approval. How many Justice Morgans are out there right now? How many grandmothers like Ruth with 60 years of wisdom in their hands? How many fathers like Christopher sitting in jail for telling a truth nobody wanted to hear? This story happened in Riverside, but it could be your town, your courtroom, your family. Maya Morgan wrote in her journal 3 weeks before she died, "Use your gift because people hurt and you can help." That's enough. That line stays with me not because it's poetic, but because it's true. We're all hurting in some way, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Sometimes the person who can help isn't the one with the credentials, the expensive education, or the corner office. Sometimes it's the person who cares enough to try, the person brave enough to say, "I see you. I hear you. I can help." Justice didn't heal Judge Sterling because she had a medical degree. She healed him because her mother taught her to listen, because her grandmother taught her to feel, because for generations of women in her family refused to let knowledge die just because the system didn't devalue it. If this story made you think differently about healing, about justice, about who gets to be heard and who gets dismissed, I'd be grateful if you subscribed. These stories take time to find, they take effort to tell, and they matter. Not because they're perfect, not because they solve everything, but because they're real. Because they remind us that impossible things happen every day when we are brave enough to believe in them. Next time, I'll tell you about a homeless veteran who stopped a bank robbery with nothing but a chess move. Same theme, different hero. Underestimated people, unexpected skills, and a system that almost missed the truth. Till then, remember one thing. The person nobody's listening to might be the person everyone needs. Thanks for watching Fate Tales. Subscribe to catch the next story of courage, heart, and the unexpected heroes around us. Remember, truth, justice, and hope come from the most unexpected places.